Welcome to Sexy Soulful Success, the podcast for women leaders who are ready to transition from exhausted hustle to enlivened flow in their businesses and beyond. I'm your host, Emily Castle, leadership and business coach for ambitious, high-achieving women entrepreneurs. We will be hearing real behind-the-scenes stories, inspiring words of wisdom, and actionable strategies from women who are creating their empires with sexy confidence, soulful alignment, and an abundant mindset for success. You'll also hear shorter solo episodes from me to help you launch, grow, and scale your business by working smarter, not harder. Plus, you'll have the opportunity to listen in as I coach real women leaders from our community about challenges and burning questions in their businesses. My mission is to help you walk away feeling more confident in your own journey, free to embrace and express your innate feminine wisdom in all you do, ready to deliver your unique contribution to the world, and inspired to take the necessary action to grow your impact and income through your business. Let's dive into today's episode. Today's guest is Dr. Cortney Baker. Cortney Baker is an award-winning entrepreneur, host of the podcast Women in Business, Inspirational Stories of Women Entrepreneurs with Dr. Cortney, TEDx speaker, and a nationally recognized authority on women's leadership. She has been featured on Fox News, Forbes, iHeart Radio, and Huffington Post, among other publications. As a leadership expert, mentor, and business coach to female entrepreneurs and mother of three, she is passionate about inspiring and empowering women to close the gender gap through entrepreneurship. Dr. Cortney is the author of the best-selling book, The 10 Do's and Don'ts for Business Leadership, Lessons to Lead Effectively, and her most recent book, Unlimited, Conquering the Myth of the Glass Ceiling. Dr. Cortney was named the 2016-2017 Texas Businesswoman of the Year and the top 100 in healthcare in America. She's the founder and CEO of KidsCare Home Health, a multi-million KidsCare Home Health. Oh, wait. Sorry. Hold on one second.
Problem.
That was typed twice. We'll just cut that out. No, it's okay. It might have been like a copy and paste thing. It's totally fine. Okay. Let me just. She's the founder and CEO of KidsCare Home Health, a multi-million-dollar healthcare organization with 12 locations across Texas, Colorado, and Idaho. She holds an EDD in organizational leadership from Pepperdine. She earned an EDD in oh wait, that's choice two.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I didn't look at that.
Oops, my bad. She earned an EDD in organizational leadership from Pepperdine University, where she concentrated on understanding and advancing women to the highest levels of leadership. Welcome to the show, Cortney. I'm so excited to have you.
Hey, Emily, how are you?
I'm great. I get to kick off my week with you having this conversation on a Monday morning, so I am feeling wonderful.
Well, I am so glad to meet you and be here. So thanks for having me.
Me too. Thank you for being here. So, my first question to you is, what does sexy, soulful success mean to you in your life?
It's funny because I knew you would ask me that because I'm a fan of your show. And I think if I had answered this 15 years ago, it would have been all about success and money and making it. And now in my journey, it's really about helping others and seeing the next generation of entrepreneurs succeed and reach their highest potential at whatever level they see success is for them.
Yeah. Beautiful. So let's see. I just want to make sure that you're not still talking and I can't hear you.
No.
Okay, cool. All right, great. So tell us a little bit about your story and how you got to be the version of you that you are today with all of these incredible business ventures and awards and all of these beautiful things on the surface. I'm sure that it took a lot to get to where you are today.
It did. I call it the entrepreneurial roller coaster,
Yes.
and it's quite the ride. So I started my adult journey as a single teenage mom, and I was on Medicaid and food stamps. And when all my friends were going off to college, 6 months after I graduated high school, I had my son. And fast forward through a move out of state and a failed marriage. I put myself through college. I earned a master's degree in communication disorders and sciences, which is just fancy for speech pathology. And at that point, I started working in a job where I was just completely undervalued and disrespected. And I had just gotten remarried and I was pregnant with my second child, my daughter, and got really tired of being just mistreated as an employee. And, at 28, you know everything. And so I decided my exact wording was, I can do this shit myself. So, with all the chips stacked against me, I mean, it was right after September 11th. And it was in 2003, and my husband had been unemployed. He'd, gotten the layoffs that at that point were just rampant, and he'd gotten caught up in those. And so I went out on a limb and opened my own healthcare company for little kids with disabilities. And it was me with 10 little patients, and I had a partner at the time. And I'd gotten $10,000 from my dad and my partner, who's no longer with me, but she had invested $2,500 and I had $2,500. So we started KidsCare with $15,000, a prayer and a dream. And yeah, and today that little company that could is now, God, almost 16 years old. And we've got about 550 employees, and it's an 8-figure business with locations all over Texas, Colorado, and Idaho.
Wow. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, as a teenager before getting pregnant, was that your vision for your life, or what did it look like before you found out that you were pregnant with your son? What was the vision for your future that you were holding at that time?
Then all I wanted to do was to go to Texas A&M University and be an Aggie. And, I really I didn't even know what speech pathology was, much less have a major picked out for Texas A&M. And it's funny because fast forward a few years when I was in school for my degree, I just thought, am I making the wrong decision? I have no idea what I'm doing. This is going to be such a niche that I can't really get out of. It's not like you can go into business
Right.
and do anything. And then, come to find out now I'm in business.
That's amazing. So how did you choose that as your major and what you wanted to study? Was it just like a calling, or just sounded cool and you were like, okay, let's try this? Or what was it for you?
Pretty much that. I
Yeah.
mean, I took this little test at the community college where I was attending, and one of the top 3 careers that I qualified for was speech pathology. And I thought, well, I don't even know what the hell that is.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, Courtney, you'd be perfect. And
Cool.
you help people with disabilities. And growing up, my sister, she had multiple sclerosis, and she passed away when I was 16
Oh, wow.
and she was 20. And I thought, oh, wow, if I could have helped her, then how amazing would that be? And then when I was in school, I only wanted to be with adults in the hospital and help people who were like Kim, my sister. And when I did that, I realized that that was not my calling. It weighed too close to home. It was just too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I had worked in a school, and I thought, oh, these little kids are fun. And I like the older kids because they get my personality,
Yeah.
whereas the younger kids they scare me. But which is crazy that now I have this healthcare agency for kids of all ages. But my kids that I saw were always older. And yeah, so I kind of realized that that was my calling, and went into it.
That's so amazing. And looking back now, like, what do you think about, what would you tell that 16-year-old version of you at the time who was going to school and putting herself through school? And I'm sure that that was challenging with a small baby and like all of these things, just, everything at one time. What was that like for you? And what looking back, maybe would you tell yourself, or maybe anyone who's going through something similar now?
Yeah. And, that wasn't, there have been so many times even since then that have been really, really hard.
Mm.
And in one of those times, and this is what I would tell that younger version of me, but during those times of the hardship, um, in business, I remember we were going through a time where I'm in healthcare. It's
Mhm.
hard because you
Yeah.
got the government. That's fun, and
Mm.
so I was pacing the floor at 4 a.m. one morning, just going, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And God audibly spoke to me and said, when have I ever not
Mm.
taken care of you?
Oh gosh, I just got chills all over my body when you said that.
Yeah. And the answer was
Yeah.
never.
Right.
He's never not been there for me,
Mm-hmm.
and or anyone, and that's what I would tell that younger version of me is you're going to be okay. You have made it through 100% of the dark days so
Mm-hmm.
far, and he's got this. So trust in that and keep putting one foot in front of the other. It's all going to work out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. That's such a beautiful message.
Thank you. It's his.
Yeah. So I would love to know, you have grown this business from, you said starting out with $15,000, a prayer, and
Mhm.
a lot of hope, and growing it to an 8-figure successful business with multiple locations that serves, I'm sure, thousands of kids, maybe more. I don't know what that number is for you, but provides jobs for so many people. And what's that been like for you and was that an intentional decision, or did it just kind of take off? Like, I think a lot of times women here, we look at someone who's receiving an award at a conference or something, and we're like, oh my God, how did that happen for her? Like I'm at the place where, I'm starting with 15K and a hope, or zero and a hope and a
Mhm.
dream. What was it for you? Like, was that an intentional path that you took, or was that just sort of like, okay, and here's the next step, and here's the next step, and it grew to that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it did just grow. I mean, all I wanted to do when I started Kids Care was to be the best employer
Mm.
for people like me. So speech pathologists or any therapist, speech, physical, occupational therapists, and now we have nursing. And I just wanted to be a good person in business and to show what's possible through, I thought if I could just be the best employer, and when I started in Dallas, and now it's just crazy. But if I could just be the company that people wanted to work for, I knew the success would happen.
Mhm.
And that's what happened. I mean, when you go into business and really decide to treat people the way you want to be treated, then all the rest fell in line.
Mm.
and
That's
and that, I mean, I didn't have some huge vision statement of like world domination. You know, it was just like, I just want to be a good person in business. And really, I mean, it's been because I have surrounded myself. My husband says I'm a master delegator, and I'm like, I don't know if that's a compliment.
I think it is.
but I'm like, you know, I surround myself with people who are smarter than me and who have strengths where my weaknesses are. And really, that's how we've been successful, because I knew what I was capable of doing. I'm a huge visionary, but I'm not necessarily a good implementer. I mean, I categorize entrepreneurs in two different camps. We're either builders or sustainers. And I'm a builder. I will build anything all day long, but to sustain it is not my strength. I get bored. And actually, that's what happened in 2012. I kind of was like, okay, well, I've built this company and it's fun. I love it, but it's not what really energizes me anymore. And that's when I went back to school so I could fulfill a dream of that 19-year-old single teenage mom, which was to get my doctorate degree. And that's what I did. And what's crazy, Emily, is I started school in August of 2012. And then in class, we had to write our 80th birthday toast.
Oh, cool.
It was really cool. It was
Love
such an
that.
interesting exercise. And during that time, I remember I was sitting there with tears, just like you're doing the, I can't cry in public, like try to wipe it all up and keep it all together. And I was like, wow, there's so much more that I haven't even seen or done. I mean, at that point I was 37 and I was just like, I've got so much more life to live. And I'm not kidding. A month after that happened, I had a stroke in 2 places and underwent a 7-hour brain surgery.
Wow.
And realized like it could have been over. And after 4 months, I mean, I withdrew from school, and 4 months later I re-enrolled and just was like, I'm here for a reason, and I don't know what it is yet. And then through time that has kind of pulled out, like it's sifted through, like an archaeological dig, it kind of, you sift all the sand and then comes the gems. And it's really to give back to the next generation of female entrepreneurs my knowledge and to help them succeed. Because my research, what I found was that there aren't more women in business because of 4 distinct challenges that we go through when climbing our, career. And it's to help them get through those challenges so we can be the next future generation of leadership.
I love that. So what are those 4 things for women that tend to hold us back?
It's the first one is family obligations. It's hard juggling a family and a career. And the second one is limited advancement opportunities. And that could be based on your age or education or whatever your distinct circumstance is. The third was what I went into my research really thinking it was going to be was gender-based discrimination. And I thought it was the good old boys club holding us down. And those guys I call Bubba, I mean, they're rubbing their belly and laughing at their own jokes and, calling you Sally and telling you to get them a cup of coffee. And they're still out there. But what was referenced more often than not than the Bubbas was the mean girls. And mean girls holding other women back and the lack of mentorship. And I thought, you know what, I can fill this gap through doing what I'm doing now. And then the fourth challenge, which really broke my heart, was that the women that I interviewed 50% at the C level talked to me, a complete stranger, about how they lacked confidence.
Mm.
And when I took that research outside of the C level and talked to women at all different levels in their businesses and in all different industries, that number incredibly rose to about 80%.
Wow.
And I thought, if I can help women find their confidence and be the mentor to them, to show them the ropes and say, look, here's my hand. I will walk through this with you. Let's go. Then, then that's my purpose.
That's amazing.
Well,
That's amazing. So you went back to school for your doctorate, and was it in business, or what was the field of study for you?
it was organizational leadership, which is business leadership.
Uh-huh. Amazing. I love this research that you did. This
Well,
is so
thank
exciting.
Thank you.
I love research. I'm a
I
real
do too. I could
nerd.
totally get like geeked out on all of it. But I
Yes.
realized, that I have a problem to solve.
Mhm.
And actually, while I was doing my own research, I found that there was a study done by McKinsey and Company along with Lean In that found that at the rate we've gone on from 2012 to 2015, we are more than 25 years away from gender equality at the senior VP level.
Ugh.
But what pissed me off even more was that at that same rate, we are more than 100 years away from gender equality at the highest levels of leadership.
Mm.
And I said,
Wow.
what really happened was I looked at my daughters at the time, and they're now, one turns 16 very soon, and the other one is almost 12. And I thought, what can I do right now as an almost 45-year-old woman?
Mhm.
What can I do to help their generation narrow that gender gap? And I said, I need to mentor and support women, millennial females,
Mm.
and help them create their own path and close that gap through entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
And that's what I do now.
Amazing. So tell us a little bit about what does that look like to close that gap through entrepreneurship, and why should we be thinking about focusing on entrepreneurship to close that gap potentially more quickly, or whatever your vision is for the world?
Yeah, and honestly, not everyone is creative. It takes a special kind of crazy to be an entrepreneur.
agree.
I will not lie.
Yes.
And so if your journey looks like climbing the corporate ladder, but doing it with confidence, I totally support that as well. But I think, if we are going to narrow that gender gap through entrepreneurship, and that's what your heart is, to do your own thing, then it looks like doing it well through knowing exactly how to set your business up right from the beginning. And that's why I've created a course. It's called From Side Hustle to CEO. And it is to help women walk through each of the steps of that puzzle, from finding your business name, getting your LLC, creating your it's not even a business plan. It's like a modified business plan, because I want it to be actionable. And I
Mhm.
think so many times we get caught up in all the pieces that we
Mhm.
don't create action.
Yeah.
And there's a mindset piece to it as well.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah. To address that confidence from the very
Mhm.
beginning, right?
Mhm.
Mm.
And I have a Facebook group as well, for the people who are maybe not sure. It's called From Side Hustle to CEO. And it's kind of a place where we just talk business and get advice and strategies and, support each other, because I think that there's got to be something on each piece of the puzzle
Mhm.
that really gets that foundation of support to
Mhm.
help propel you to go further. And so it's kind of like the Facebook group. And then if you really desire to launch and go deeper, then there's the course. And then after that is continued support after the course to really help you dive deeper and answer those business questions once you get going.
Awesome. That's beautiful. I love that.
Thanks.
I think we all need that sort of mentorship from the very beginning. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I see women entrepreneurs make, is this idea that we should do it alone and just figure it out as we go. And, you know, I totally understand where that comes from for a lot of people. And we live in this culture of, you know, independence is king. And if you don't do it alone, it's like your success isn't worth as much or something. And we have all these weird ideas tied up with that. But
it kills people.
Yeah,
it really
does.
That loneliness and isolation. And
right.
Because you get into your head of, and this is actually part of the research I found, was there's a saying in the recovery community that's terminally unique. And we feel that nobody could possibly understand what I'm going through, and I've got to go through this all alone, and it kills people.
Yep.
And that's why especially as women and entrepreneurs, we're like unicorns. I mean,
right.
There's not one of us on every corner. So to have a community of people where they can say, I'm having a really shitty day today, I need to get out of my head. What are some places that y'all do? You know, what are good meditation techniques, or what are some good things that you have going for you, or some inspiration? And to have a safe place to talk about those things is priceless.
Totally. And I'm sure that this has been true for you as well, but for me, from the very beginning of my business, even from the training that I chose to do to become a coach, it was all about having that community and that sisterhood around me, so that I knew it's almost like insurance for your success or something, you know, that like you won't give up when everybody else is cheering you on and holding you accountable, and also walking through the fire with you in the beginning, and also in the uncomfortable in between moments and the scary parts and the moments where you're like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to figure this out, because it seems like everything is crashing down around me, you know. And that it's the thing I think that holds a lot of people back from actually taking the plunge into entrepreneurship, but it's also the thing that we're sharing in common, but so many times we don't speak about, or we don't know that we're all going through, because we're looking at each other's social media feeds or whatever, or the, you know, sales emails or sales pages, and everything looks so perfect and shiny and beautiful, and we don't know the struggle behind it as well, you know. So we're seeing this sort of illusion of a one-sided frame instead of seeing the whole picture. And I think that can be really challenging too, when we don't have those support systems where we get the real story and the full spectrum of what's real about entrepreneurship versus what's the like bright, shiny success part of it. Which you can have both and still be like, it's normal to have both sides. It doesn't mean everything's perfect all the time.
Right. And see the awards or the accolades and think, oh, well, you know, it was easy.
Right.
You know, that's why I think it's so important that even, you know, my generation turn around to the next generation and say, hey, I'm here for you. And because we live in such a hustle society, and it's like, yeah, you got to work your ass off. I am not going to lie about that. And I'm not going to paint some bright, shiny, get rich quick tomorrow scheme.
Right.
It's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of self-care and inner work you got to do to get to the point where you've got the real sales emails and not the, you know, I think of the used car, hey, you know, guy. And, you know, that's so not sustainable. Like, we've got to really get to the real heart of um, the business, but you are the business. So what's going on with you, and how can we help support you as the person?
Totally. What do you feel? So I recently was sort of a fly on the wall sitting in on a class at a school about entrepreneurship and trying to help women get to their next level of success financially. And I felt like there was a big gap there in the room of like, hey, this isn't being like, there was no mindset, there was no inner work going on. It was all about the numbers and the profit margins and all of those things, which of course are important, because if you're not running a profitable business, you're not really running a business, you're having an expensive hobby yeah,
Yes.
that's sucking you dry energetically and financially. So that's very important. I'm not knocking that, but I felt there was a missing link there, because what I see as a coach for women is that there is so much on, like, it's like a very high percentage of this thing of entrepreneurship and success in business is so internal. And especially, I think, just outlining those 4 distinct challenges that you shared through your research for women, I see that too. And it's like all of those link back to the inner game for me. When I look at that list, when it's family obligations, it's like, okay, yes. And there are so many stories of women who have, raised kids as teenagers, for example, and still made their way, and still figured it out, and still, so it's not only the fact that those challenges exist, but how we show up to them, how we think about them, how we perceive them, how we navigate them, all of those things. So what do you feel is the missing link in most, I guess, conversations that women are having around business and success at this point in time, from your perspective and what you see in your own work?
I think for me, and I'm a pretty transparent person, we get caught up in the hustle of the, you got to do more, to get those bright, shiny Instagram feeds or whatever. And it's really like getting to the heart of it and saying, what is your purpose? And after I finished my doctoral degree, so I wrote the dissertation, check. I then turned that research into a book called Unlimited: Conquering the Myth of the Glass Ceiling. And I can talk about the myth in a minute if you'd like.
Yeah.
But check, that was, and then I looked around, and here I was, like, I was at that point, I think I was 40. And I thought, I've got this, incredible business that doesn't need me because I've set it up that way.
Yeah.
I've got this doctoral degree. I've got this book. I've checked all the boxes, and now what?
Right.
And I went into this, really, Emily, it was a deep, dark hole. And I started drinking a lot. And, we do live in a culture where, 1 o'clock and, it's Friday somewhere. That was my motto. And my husband would be like, Courtney, it's Tuesday all over the world. So no, it's not Friday anywhere.
That's so funny.
I know. And I look back now and I crack up, but it's like, God, how many brain cells did I kill? But it was just, it was really dark for me. And it was like, I've got to figure out what is my calling? What is my purpose? And it's not to make a ton of money. Which is great. There's nothing bad about that, but is my calling really to help the future generation and to give back? And it wasn't an instinctual knowledge. It was through many pivots that I found this avenue of, oh my God, this is it. So it wasn't like I just woke up one day and said, oh, this is my calling. It was more like, okay, this is not it. This is not it. But once I found my purpose, and I think once anybody finds their purpose, then they realize their worth. And I believe that confidence is found at the intersection of courage to find your purpose and faith to walk in that purpose.
Yeah.
And once you walk in your purpose through that courageous action, that's where you're going to find your confidence to conquer the world, whatever that is for you.
Absolutely. I love that. That's such a beautiful way to essentialize the confidence equation. Like everyone, I think that's such a challenging concept to talk about because it is something that everyone is seeking, right? Like, I want to build my confidence. I just need to be more confident. And it's this idea that we're constantly like not confident enough or something. And then also, well, where does that actually come from? Like, what are the things that we do that actually lead to confidence? Like, it's not just sitting around thinking about being more confident all the time. It's actually engaging with the thing that we're here to do and building that confidence as we go. It's something that comes from engagement, not just being idle and thinking in our minds about it. Although visualization is great.
Less confident.
Yeah, right. Because you'll be like, oh, well, I didn't actually do that thing.
Yeah. And it was funny because in my research, I was doing a lot of other research about confidence and found that in a really popular book, it was quoted that confidence was defined by a Ohio State professor as confidence is the stuff that turns thoughts into action. And then I started thinking about that and I was like, but hamsters in a wheel are in motion. It's more than just action.
Yes.
It's gotta be purposeful.
Yep.
And so that's where I came up with my equation of confidence being found at the intersection of courage and faith.
I love that. Yeah. Cause you can look around and see so many people doing, but it's not getting them anywhere, like a hamster in a wheel, right? Or they're just kind of spinning in motion and they're feeling. I know that that's true it's been true for me in the past, and it's true for a lot of the women that I coach, because that's what our society sort of glorifies is busy, right? It's like being busy, having your hands full, staying, even when you break up with someone or something, everyone's like, well, just stay busy. That's like the best advice. That's like the worst advice, actually.
Yeah, no, it's actually to deal with it.
Right. Yeah. Actually go within. Actually just sit there and process how you're actually feeling.
Yeah.
Get your journal out and meditate and move through it. Yeah. But that's not what the narrative is, unfortunately, at this point in time and for the past few hundred years, probably, at least in the Western world, of how we navigate life and what we value and how we value time and energy and all those things being expended. And really, it's like I look around and I see so many people who feel so busy, but yet they're not actually creating results. They're not actually moving in the direction of their purpose. They're not actually doing things intentionally. They're not actually mindful about the action that they're taking. They're just kind of able to be in action. And I know that's true for me. That's a tendency I have, because that's what I grew up seeing all the time, So yeah, it's not just that. There's another layer of depth to the type of action we take and the way in which we show up to do those things and the way that we follow through and the impact that we intend to create through those actions and the ripple effects and all of those things.
Yeah, because if you keep yourself busy doing,
yeah,
and you're actually probably keeping yourself from being busy doing what you really need to be doing.
Exactly.
Forward.
Right. Yeah.
Because your lack of confidence.
Right.
I'm gonna write all these emails, but I'm never gonna send them because I'm scared, or whatever. And it's like, no, just push send.
Or I'm going to do all the things that I think I should be doing, but not do the one thing that I know I really want to do because I'm not there in my confidence.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about the myth of the glass ceiling. This is so interesting. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this.
Yes. Okay. So if you, wherever you are, if you're looking at a ceiling, by design, it's not meant to go beyond. I mean, why would you want to? And the fact that it's described as glass means that we can't see these challenges they're transparent.
Mm.
Well, they're not transparent. We live them, we feel them. And instead, if you envision your journey as a maze or a labyrinth, and you know that there's going to be these 4 challenges you're going to hit. It's going to be, the turn at family obligations. Then you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to retrace your steps at limited advancement. And, they all work in conjunction. But if you create strategies to get beyond each of these 4 challenges and this myth of this maze, then you can get to the end, whatever you decide your success is, and success is what's found at the end.
Mm. I love that. That's so true, because it isn't transparent. We know.
Yeah, we live these challenges.
Yeah.
They face us every day. So,
Right.
and you think about it, like the glass ceiling, then we're a victim. We have
Right.
no control over this thing, this object that stands in our way. But instead, if we look at it as a maze or this labyrinth that we're walking through, and we have the power to choose our own adventure, and our choices can lead us down the path, whatever we want to go through, and we create these strategies to get beyond these challenges, then we can succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And the power's in our hands.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So true. I love that perspective. And yet we still use this phrase all the time.
Yeah. Well,
We
I'm
hear it all
trying
the
to
time.
change that.
Yes. I love that. So what should we call it instead? The maze or labyrinth of
Yeah,
success?
the journey.
Yeah.
It's our personal journey, but just creating strategies, our own personal strategies to get beyond that. So family obligations, going to your spouse or your significant other and saying, hey, I really need help around here. My career is really, it's having those deep conversations, but having the confidence to have those deep conversations
Mm.
and not come at it from a place of, I need your help.
Right.
It's more of a, hey, we're partners, and I'm so grateful that we chose each other, and I wouldn't want to walk down this journey with anyone else, but I need your help. So is it okay that um, you do the dishes? That's your responsibility, or make a game out of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you write down collaboratively, and that'll be even more fun, because then you'll be like, how many things do you do? And then the list is small, and it's like, okay, let's talk about the things I do, and let's write them all down and throw them in a hat. And then now we're going to pick them. And
Mm.
those are your responsibilities, the ones you choose. And then do that every week and make a game out of it.
Oh, I love that.
But, it's like getting back to the basics of actual purposeful, positive communication.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I love that. And that can be, in my experience, really challenging. And I think for a lot of women, that can feel really challenging.
It
Um,
is.
and so what is your, how have you navigated that in your own life or relationships where you've been able to have those courageous conversations with your partner?
Well, and mine is truly, my husband, we just celebrated our 17-year anniversary.
Oh,
And so, and
amazing.
we've been together for 18 years, but he really knew how important my success and career was to me. And so it's just going and saying, we prioritize date night, and prioritize the fact that life has to happen. I need help with laundry, and he needs help with the things he's doing too. And so it's a yin and yang. But we hear
Mm-hmm.
this work-life balance
Mm-hmm.
bullshit. That doesn't work. It's called work-life blend, and it's a
Yeah.
seesaw.
Yeah.
It's like the teeter-totter at fifth, when you're 5 in kindergarten. And it's the up and down and the yin and yang, and it's the give and take. But going to your spouse and saying, hey, I love you, and you know what's more sexy than anything? To watch you do the dishes.
Yes,
Will you
so
do
true.
them? You know, and just being loving and just honest and saying, hey, I really need you. I need some help around here because this is important to me. What can I do to support you? And here's what you can do to support me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that
Yeah,
personal
sure.
tidbit too, because I think it's sometimes hard for people to. The idea is like, oh yeah, great, and how do I actually do that?
Yeah,
How do I actually do
exactly.
it differently than the way that I'm doing it now? Let me
Hmm.
hear a different way of
Well, and
communicating.
in my book, Unlimited, I give strategies for each of those obstacles. So if yours isn't family obligations, let's say it's limited advancement opportunities. I mean, one of the girls that I've heard from and I've mentored on her journey, she was working a corporate job and she was feeling like she wasn't making as much as she was worth. And this was even before she and I connected. She said, I went through each of the steps in your book and I asked for a meeting. I created a PowerPoint presentation and I went and presented my worth and the company,
Mm,
the value to the company. And I got a $10,000 raise, which was, a ridiculous amount for what she needed. And
mhm.
she just really felt empowered just by the steps that were listed in the book.
Mm, that's
So
beautiful.
yeah, and I've since helped her create her own company because she still wasn't feeling valued where she
Mm,
was.
mhm.
I mean, she's only been in business. In September, she will celebrate her 1 year anniversary, and she's already scaled to like 5 or 6 contractors. I mean, her growth
Wow,
has been incredible. And that's just
amazing.
one of the people. It's been so much fun watching through them their their success.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that we get to both do work. I totally understand how you must feel
Uh-huh.
after that experience too, and watching her grow that way and being like, wow, yes, your success is my success, is our success. It's like all feeding the same mission, which is
Yes.
beautiful. I love that.
Yes.
Love that so much. And yay, since this will go live in September, we'll send her a little love for her 1 year.
Yes. Yes. She calls
Yay.
it my grandbaby company because
Oh.
it's my first little my first little mentee um,
Hmm.
who opened a company and now she's just thriving. And actually, her birthday or her company anniversary is the exact anniversary of my stroke,
Oh my
September 8th.
gosh.
Yeah, isn't that
Wow.
crazy?
That is like one of those totally crazy but totally perfect facts.
Divine.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I love that. What a perfect nod from the divine of like, yes, you are
Yeah.
on the right path. You're doing the right thing. Good job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
I love that.
it's only God.
Hmm. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing so much of yourself and your wisdom today on the show. It's been so beautiful having you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me and the time and just doing all that you're doing as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So, if anyone is interested in hearing more about you, getting more information on your course that's coming out this week, From Side Hustle to CEO, getting their hands on your books,
Yeah.
where would you like them to connect with you, or where would they go to find all that information?
Well, you can find the book on Amazon or you can go to Barnes and Noble and request it. And if you want to learn more about, I have the 10 secrets female millennial entrepreneurs must know before starting their service based business. If you want to get your hands on those 10 secrets, you can go to drcourtneybaker.com/10 secrets, and it's the number 10 secrets. And Courtney doesn't have a U in it, so it's Cortney. And then also, if you have any questions or want to reach out to me, it's just Cortney@CourtneyBaker.com.
Amazing. Yay. Well, thank you so much for being here again. It was so great to have you, and I can't wait to keep in touch with you, follow your journey, and I can't wait for everyone listening to come find you, read your book, take your course, whatever they feel called to do. And
I'm on social, Dr. Cortney Baker. So I would love to connect and just hear any ahas that came up for anyone, or just tell me about your journey.
yeah, that's always so fun to hear. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Cortney. And thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'll talk to you next week on the podcast.
Hello, sister, and thank you so much for being part of this amazing tribe of world-changing women and for listening to the Sexy Soulful Success podcast. I love you. I see you. I appreciate you. And I want to invite you to come on over to emilycastle.com/bundle, BUNDLE, to grab my free Soulful Success bundle with 7 of my most powerful tools for creating the impactful and abundant, soul-aligned life and business that you're here to create. I know how hard it can be to clearly and confidently communicate your message and mission to your audience, to take consistent, inspired action toward your goals, to deeply connect with your vision for success, and to do it all in a way that won't burn you out, but instead feels enlivening instead of exhausting. So I want to gift you this free bundle of my top resources that I've been using in my own life and business, as well as with my clients for the past 4 years, that have created exceptional success in record speed. So head on over to emilycastle.com/bundle to grab it right now. And I'd also like to ask a little favor. So in order for this podcast community to grow and for it to reach the eyes and ears of more women who need to hear it, we need reviews, and we need it to show up in their Instagram and Facebook feeds so that they can know about it and be aware and join us in trailblazing a new path for women leaders and entrepreneurs. So I would love to ask if you could head on over to emilycastle.com/podcast to leave a review. There's a button right at the top of the page, as well as all the latest episodes of the show, so you can listen in and share from there. And I would so appreciate your love and support with this. I have big plans and visions for the podcast this year, and I would love your help in making them a reality and being able to reach more women, to share the podcast, share the mission, but also to give more resources out and tools for women to gather in their own communities in real life and take the mission of this podcast offline as well and be in real conversation and connection and community together. So every week I'll be doing an iTunes review of the week on the podcast, and I would love to share your voice with the listening audience and share your name. So thank you so much for being part of this podcast, this movement, and this sisterhood. Together we can and are changing the world, starting with our own, shining our light even more brightly so that we can illuminate the way for others. Keep going on your path, trust in your journey, and remember, you aren't meant to do this alone. I see you, I love you, we've got this. I'll see you next time, sister.